Welcome, everyone, to Mondays with Michael. I'm Dr. Michael Gaeta. Greetings to you wherever you are. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you and yours. So glad you're with us today. Really delighted to be with you week to week, and so glad you're with us. Whatever platform you're viewing us on, we're streaming to about 10 different pages and platforms, as well as on our watch page at michaelgaeta.com/watch. And some of you are on our backup Zoom link, which is great too. So a warm welcome to everyone. If you'd like to let us know who you are, where you're calling from, any questions you have for today, anything you'd like to share with the group on whatever platform you're on. Maybe you've come across an article or a podcast or a video or something you want to share with the group. We'd love to hear from you. So, warm welcome to everyone. This is an offering of the Gaeta Institute for Holistic Health Education. Our motto here, as is with the Gaeta Clinic for Chinese and Functional Medicine, is nature first, drugs last. And we are just happy to be with you today. And we have a wonderful guest returning to the show, a good friend, one of our most popular faculty members here at the school. And that is Dustin Strong. So a warm welcome to Dustin, and this is for show number 294 for this December 15th, just 10 days from Christmas. I really love this season for its spiritual significance and also just the warm, warm feelings between people and generosity and love and appreciation and light. It's a great follow-on to Thanksgiving, which, as I said on that broadcast, for me is a practice day to practice gratitude every day. It's good to have a practice day set aside every year, which we call Thanksgiving, and certainly a lot of historical significance to that celebration. And thanks to President Lincoln for ensconcing that as law and a national federal holiday. But anyway, here we are in Christmas time. Wonderful to be here. I've got the tree up, unadorned just yet. Tonight, after school, the kids are coming over, and we're going to trim the tree and have some good time together. Some of you are asking about my son. He has just returned last night from Italia. He did a semester in Rome, which was wonderful. And it's great to have him back. He's very happy to be home too and be with the family and friends. So today we have returning to the show. I kind of lost count of how many times Dustin's been on the show, but we are very glad to have him with us today. We have a new topic that we haven't discussed before, and Dustin and I thought it'd be good to dive into this subject of glutathione and homocysteine. And for those of you not familiar with Dustin, he's awesome, one of my favorite people. And he is the founder of Strong on Health, which is a super successful clinic in Mansfield, Texas. He is a board certified holistic nutritionist, certified applied clinical nutritionist, lifestyle health and wellness counselor, and uber popular Gaeta Institute faculty member. His students just love his courses and look forward to new ones all the time. As always, and Dustin likes to answer questions as I do. So whatever questions you have on the two subjects that we talk about in this show of natural health and health freedom, don't be shy. Just put that right into the chat on our watch page. Or if you're on our Zoom link, you can do that as well. If you're on one of the other streaming platforms, that's great. And you'll have to scooch over to our watch page to send in a question. If you have a question for Dustin or myself. And this is an offering of the Gaeta Institute. We have 60 courses now in natural functional medicine and holistic health, many of them taught by Dustin, actually. And then we have our clinic for Chinese and functional medicine, working with folks here in the Boulder office, and mostly by Zoom and phone. So with that, a warm welcome to Dustin. Dustin, so good to see you again, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
It is
Excellent.
a time
Yeah.
of year where some people are challenged with some extra stress. So it is helpful to be reminded that it's a time to give extra joy and extra love to the people around us for sure.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, that is wonderful, and certainly appreciate our connection and collaboration for sure over the years here. Well, good. So we had an interesting subject today,
Yeah,
and
glutathione and homocysteine. I was looking at that thinking, is that
yeah.
compelling? Is that going to get people interested in listening to us? But I, I think it's very important we talk about this. It
Yeah.
was born out of the fact that it's been come to my attention that so many people are getting glutathione injections, right? A
Hmm.
lot of money and resources going into that. And I thought it'd be helpful for us to unpack, well, why is that happening? Number one, what are
Yes.
they missing? And what does it teach us about somebody's health if they are needing glutathione? What
Yeah.
are the things that we can help support them? Because I mean, I don't know, but I don't think the jury is fully set on the safety of glutathione injections, right?
Yeah, it is not set for sure.
And I think one of the things that you've said so many times that I love to repeat that I think is such wisdom is there's such a profound difference in letting your body create the right amount of glutathione in the right dose at the right time based on its
Mm.
wisdom versus
Yes.
dumping a whole bunch in there and forcing it to try to use as much as possible all at
Right.
once and
Well, and
creating.
assuming, yeah, a big bolus and assuming that's the right amount, and it's kind of a crapshoot. Like you're just sort of guessing. And that's, it's playing with the body as a beaker, like let's dump chemicals in to the beaker and see what happens, like chemistry class.
Exactly. And to truly know what all that costs the body to do that is difficult to
Mm-hmm.
say. When
Mm-hmm.
you can learn from it and understand that the body should be making its own glutathione.
Yep.
I know that people are getting relief from it, and there are a lot of people who are, once they have an experience with some type of an IV
Right.
infusion of this, they're
Right.
sold, right? They're like, wow, this is
Right.
great. And I
Right.
just want to caution people to know that that you should only use that as an education for yourself and not as something that well you should keep returning to. Because I always say this, whatever it is that your body's missing to make its own glutathione,
Yep.
let's say you put that glutathione and you get that great response. Well, whatever those pieces were that were missing or that were depleting it, if
Yep.
those aren't corrected, it's going to show up as a problem somewhere else. And
Yes.
you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to fix it with just more glutathione. So a lot of times people will feel good for a little while, and then they're going to have mediocre or worse things happening to them because they're trying to rely on dumping in exogenous chemistry when they should be relying on their body's infinite wisdom to be able to do it itself.
Yes. And I just realized I just assume everybody knows and loves you here, but I'm seeing we have some new folks here who
Oh,
may
good.
not be as familiar with you. If you just give us a little thumbnail of how, because each of us has our first career in music then got us into the health field. So just give us a little sketch for folks who are less familiar with you and your work of how you came to be doing this work.
Well, I mean, the real story is I wanted to do this forever, but I had that same thing that most of you healers out there have is this dissonance in your heart as to wanting to heal everybody, but
Mm,
having to make it a business. There's this disconnect and say, well, why should I have to charge people for the knowledge that God would give us?
right.
And so that when I was younger really was an obstacle for me going headfirst into doing this
Mm,
profession. Now, of course, since I've learned you have to establish value, and there's a lot of reasons why
yeah.
this
Yes.
is something that we have to do.
That's right.
But it also lined up. The reason I was able to attend the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the first place. Not only was it obviously my grades and everything, but I was accepted on a music scholarship.
Hmm.
So that was a
I think
great,
that was full boat, wasn't it?
not full though, but it was pretty close. It was
A
pretty
lot
good.
of boat.
It helped. Yeah, I paid off my student debts very quickly. Let's just put it that
Wow. Well
way.
done.
Thanks to having the ability to get a music scholarship.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that I have to have gratitude, of course, to music to be able to get me just in the beginnings of a higher education and getting all that
Yes.
started. And then I pursued that for a while because of the same resistance to this idea that,
Mm.
and I would just, it was more of a hobby than
Yes. Yes.
but then it just became more and more obvious to me that this is a space that I should be in a professional capacity. And so for the last 20 years, I've been really digging and investigating and truly trying to understand all aspects of holistic health and nutrition being the very first foundational piece that I feel like
Mm.
I would say I have the greatest confidence in being able to
Mm.
help people.
Hmm.
So,
That's excellent.
and that's why I want to talk about nutrition when it comes to
Yes.
glutathione production today, as
Yes.
much as possible.
So yeah, that's great. Thank you for that, and just appreciate your listening to your compulsion to serve people in a specific way, and honoring that. I think both of us in our lives had an opportunity to just do music and just be lifelong career musicians, and you certainly have an astounding voice that you easily could have done that. And there was, as happened with me, there was a compulsion that there was more to do
Right.
beyond that.
Yes.
And we both enjoy doing that and singing and performing for people, and there's something more that we've been called to. So let's just cover some basics. I try to, particularly in the podcast, I try to assume no prior knowledge.
Good.
So let's just define some terms
Okay.
of what glutathione is. Since that's our first subject, we'll get into homocysteine later, and they're related, for sure. But what are we talking about here?
So glutathione is it's called the master antioxidant in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to help us remove all kinds of oxidative stress, but all kinds of heavy metal toxicities. It really just helps us clean up. Well, I mean, if we're going back to the original design of this elegant machine, it's there.
Yes.
Your body's there to help create a means to remove metabolic waste, right?
Yes.
The cost of living and breathing and metabolism, there is going to be waste that has to be dealt with, and glutathione is the biggest piece to be able to help to do that. But
Mm.
as you know, the world we live in, we have an insanely high level of exposure to exogenous things that are creating
Right.
damage to our body. So the
Right.
need for glutathione goes higher and higher and higher the more we are exposed to chemicals, heavy metals, and all kinds of things that the body would rather not have in it and have
Right.
it out of the body, right?
Right. And this is made in the liver, and it's made up of,
Yep.
hmm?
The transsulfuration pathway is
Oh, right.
basically the pathway that we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So this guy is pieced together from three amino acids,
Hmm.
which then brings together another question of what is the quality and quantity of our protein intake, right? Which
Yes.
then get broken down into amino acids, which are then assembled in part, or in significant part by the liver into glutathione, which then has this cytoprotective feature.
Mm.
So this is an important piece.
Well, let's talk about some symptoms that somebody might not have enough glutathione in the first
Oh,
place.
okay, great.
Some reasons that they may be trying to inform themselves as to whether or not they do have enough would be sleep. Sleep is a big one.
Oh,
Uh, Sleep
okay.
disruption could be definitely impacted by a lack of glutathione.
Huh.
And here's the other thing where this is kind of a double whammy. If you don't have enough sleep, then your glutathione production is also inhibited. So this
Okay,
is
so with low glutathione, you're not going
Mhm.
to sleep as well.
You're not going to sleep.
And if you don't get enough sleep, you may not produce enough glutathione.
Right. Right.
Okay. Okay.
So that, I mean, I want to start out with that because this is one of
Yeah.
the reasons that you and I decided to do an episode today is that we are creating a course series on sleep, on maximizing,
Hmm.
because the
That's
sleep
right.
piece can be that piece that you think you got all the chemistry right, you think you're doing all the other things right, but if the sleep piece isn't there, it's going to be a mystery to totally
Mm.
achieve the health results you're trying to get to. So we have to
Right.
master sleep in order to
Right.
rule that piece out. And this is why I bring this up with glutathione in particular, is because maybe somebody does get a good short-term result of better sleep when they do get a glutathione injection, but
Right.
that doesn't mean, right, that it's fixed your sleep or it's fixed why your body can't make glutathione.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
when people have disturbances in sleep, we have so many things, this long list of things that we're looking at, but I think glutathione should definitely be on that list of things,
Hmm.
examining whether or not we
Yeah.
have enough of it to be able to
Right.
achieve the better sleep.
Right. Right. That's big because that would put it into the range of, well, that kind of makes sense because sleep is repair time.
Hmm.
Sleep is restoration time. It's very parasympathetic, rest, relax, digest, repair,
Yeah.
detoxify. That all fits, within the range of glutathione activity, because we know, it has these various functions as reducing cellular damage and
Yeah.
helping in that way repair, aiding in the repair process as well.
Right. And the other symptoms are things like fatigue and brain fog and
Mm,
mood disruptions, which are those things that are very difficult to chase that symptom with
right?
anything because they can be applied to so many different things.
Mm,
If you are hitting a stalemate with your usual approach to try to help somebody with fatigue or brain fog or
right?
low mood, then I would say make sure that you're including an examination of the supportive glutathione production in that,
Mm,
because that could be the big piece that's slowing down the results with everything else you're doing to get better
yes.
mental clarity, to get better mood, to get better sleep, to get, more energy, all those things.
Right. Right. So, what's happening here where folks are kind of flocking to adding exogenous synthetic glutathione as a supplement, as an injection?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is skin health, right? A lot of
Mm,
people are they're using it as an anti-aging piece or gives them
right.
a glow because it does. It takes
Right.
stress off the body, right? That's what
Right.
glutathione is meant to do.
Right.
Lightening of skin, brightening of skin. So there's a lot of
Yep.
um, I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
It's
Uh,
attractive as an option. Yeah.
yeah. People who are concerned about their their appearance, it's going to be something. But for a lot of other things, detox, right? It is important for detox, and so people think of it as a detoxifier.
Right.
Um, but what are the reasons that people are needing it? What's happening? I mean,
Yep.
obviously, it's a standard American diet. It's the seed oils, it's the
Uh,
excess alcohol consumption, it's the sugar. That is going to create a greater need for more glutathione whenever you're doing
mm.
these things. One thing that I think maybe slightly less known, but a lot of people who overtrain, I'm working with a lot of elite athletes.
Oh,
So people who are endurance athletes, especially, so marathon runners, people like
right.
that, they're gonna have a much greater need for glutathione for sure.
Yep. And
Uh,
that's a question I had for you. I know 'cause you've done several marathons. You treat a lot of elite athletes. There's two philosophies because you mentioned overtraining, and I
yeah.
think that's a thing. And there's a view that there is no overtraining, only under supporting
Okay.
to meet that whatever that training demand is.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see it both ways. But I wanted to see what your take on that was.
Well, finding that balance between how much your body can handle and how much you truly need to recover is not an easy. There's no
Right.
easy like mathematic equation that'll lead you to that answer. That
Hmm.
is, in my experience, though, what I would say is that I think people undervalue the recovery time. Uh,
Ah, right.
they feel like they can't really gauge very well whether or not they've had enough recovery. So even this morning, an endurance athlete I work with, he's training 6 days a week, for hours every day,
Ah,
but
wow.
his sleep is not great. So I'm like,
Wow.
that's overtraining then. And I know that
Yeah.
they want to keep going, but if you're not getting the sleep, you're not getting the benefit from the training. You're actually creating
Right.
damage. And he was
Right.
starting to show a lot of signs of adrenal stress, right?
Huh.
Well, body posture was starting to become like protective of himself. And
Right.
so in order for us to actually get the value from the training, we have to make sure that he's sleeping again. So uh,
Right.
I think that's the piece there is as long as you have sufficient recovery and like you
Right.
said, and the nourishing and everything, and that includes sleep, then
Mm.
the overtraining becomes less important. But that's what overtraining is to me. It's just not enough recovery. Quite
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's such a good point. That the recovery is at least as important as the performance, maybe more important because
yeah.
incomplete recovery will lead to damage. And I, I have a patient she's in her 50s and loves CrossFit.
Okay.
And she said, and she was just breaking down. She's just exhausted and achy and inflamed. I'm like, well, first of all, you're in your 50s. I mean, I think the CrossFit thing is an example. Like, folks can potentially do well with that in their 20s, but with advancing age, have to be much more aggressive with recovery from that intense exertion.
I would agree. No, I think most people are on the other end of the spectrum. They undertrain. Let's be honest.
Right, right,
So this is a
right.
smaller piece, but
That's
yeah,
true.
when somebody does try to make a commitment, like maybe a lot of people do in the beginning of a new year coming up, I'm going to do this every day. I mean, I even did it to myself with
Yes.
the purification I just did. I said, I'm running a
Okay.
5K every day, right? Well, that's a great idea, but
Yep.
if I didn't truly have all the recovery time, what I learned very quickly is that I said, okay, I must have a recovery day. I can't do every day
Right.
for that
That makes
training,
sense.
even though you want to get the results quickly.
Yes.
Without the recovery time, it's not gonna,
Hmm.
you're gonna get a negative return, I guess is what I'm trying to say
Right.
on that
Right.
kind of idea.
Yep.
There are two other people, though, I want to kind of talk about that are also
Yep.
at risk of being low glutathione. It's
Yep.
going to be people on a low calorie diet, people who
Oh,
are doing a calorie restriction, people who do over fasting, right? Because I'm a big advocate of fasting.
sure.
But again, if you're not bringing in what your body needs to be able to make the glutathione, you are putting your body at risk of not being able to produce enough because it's not
Hmm.
so, let's say you put these amino acids in and the nutrients required, you can't
Right.
dictate to your body, here, use all this to make glutathione, right? Your body's going to go, wait a minute,
Hmm.
we've been needing this for this, so you're to
Oh,
have it
okay.
first, right? So when you
Yep.
do that fasting, I always want to encourage people to make sure you're doing a robust loading period beforehand of all these nutrients so that you can make it
Oh,
fast without
okay.
creating a depletion, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah, because you're gonna draw on reserves
Yes.
that you need, to live,
Mhm.
and if those reserves are depleted, that's going to be a big problem.
Right. Even though autophagy is going to do a lot to help clean things up, you
Yes.
want to be able to have glutathione as well. And if you
Hmm.
don't have the nutrients, you just can't make it.
Hmm.
The last category of people, Dr. Gaeta, I think is important that we talk about are vegans. Vegans are going to
Oh,
be at the
yeah,
greatest risk of
yeah,
having glutathione
doomed. Yep.
for several reasons. Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, you've got a protein deficit,
Right.
right? If you're just relying on diet, it's impossible to get to adequate protein on a vegan diet.
Right.
And then you've got all this, so you've got a lack of this is why I think both of us have seen, folks with low thyroid, low adrenal, not having enough amino acid
Right.
to make hormones like thyroid hormone, like the catecholamines, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So you have all these kind of downstream depletions from just not having adequate nutrition, and
That's right.
not even talking about iron and B12 and other nutrients that are just found in animal foods.
And I think
So,
if you're following Occam's razor like you are, you have to start with the big pieces first and the most likely things that are
right,
missing.
right.
And I think absolutely, you have so many people out there that in this space of wellness influencers who say
Yep.
taurine, you need to take taurine, right? Take a bunch of
Yes,
taurine.
yes.
Oh, it's a tryptophan. You need to take a bunch of tryptophan, right? And so they get these
Right,
okay results short term, but it's reductionist, right? Even
right,
though it's an essential amino acid, it's so much wiser to make sure you're getting a full amino acid profile, especially the essential aminos, to be able
right.
to cover all that. And I've said it before, we're going to get into homocysteine in a little bit, but
Yep.
I truly believe that we could take a lot of stress off of these pathways that recycle homocysteine back into methionine
Right.
just by giving the body more methionine. Like, so what's the whole purpose of
Oh,
doing that?
okay.
It's saying
Okay.
there's not enough methionine, which is an essential
Yes.
acid. And to be able to use that, I think it's just wiser to go down. But when it comes to
Right.
glutathione, we're talking about um, some would say they're conditionally essential or they're non-essential, but the amino acids are going to be cysteine,
Right.
glycine, right? Is
Right.
going to be a big one that a lot of people aren't getting enough of. And both of these can be made from other amino acids, but
Right.
right, the message is perhaps you're just not getting enough to have all of those in there.
Mm.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree completely, because it's like we've talked about, with the thyroid. Do you have do you have adequate iodine? Is there adequate
Hmm.
protein? That tyrosine needed to make thyroid hormone. In the adrenals, is there adequate cholesterol to produce those adrenal cortex hormones and so forth?
Right.
So I think that's spot on.
Well, and I want to point out one other thing. I hope I'm not just like chomping at the bit here to throw so much out there,
That's
but
great.
we get a lot of questions, and I've had questions asked me in the past about glutamate because people get worried
Oh, right.
about too much glutamate, right?
Yep.
And glutamate is one of those things that we actually do need for the synthesis of glutathione.
Yeah. Well, that's glutamate, cysteine, and glycine are the
Right.
three components of glutathione.
Right, right.
Yeah. And so,
So
yeah.
yes, too high of glutamate can be a
Mm,
problem. But if
hmm
and usually when people start to feel like they have to excess glutamate, I want to start thinking about what are the cofactors that we need to be able to convert that glutamate into glutathione or utilize it,
mm,
right, along
hmm
that transsulfuration pathway. And
Yes.
so I guess that's my whole takeaway today is if people are needing it or feeling like they're needing it, use the information to understand that you're likely identifying a deficit in adequate amounts of the micro and macronutrients required to create it on your own.
Right. Right. Yeah. And even chronic inflammation, and this is often due to omega-3 deficiency, can
Yes.
deplete glutathione and the reserves of glutathione and put a greater demand on the liver, which is in many people kind of not super happy with all the environmental toxicity. So you combine, for example, low omega-3 leading to chronic inflammation on top of a unhappy liver from environmental toxicity, overuse of pharma drugs, etc. And then you've got a problem where you've got the inflammation depletion, but also the liver maybe not being able to manufacture.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And not also bringing in other components that help your body to be able to manage oxidative stress as well, right? So
Mm,
getting it all hinged on enough glutathione is also not
right,
for your body.
right,
You and I have
right.
talked a lot about ergothioneine being
Yep,
something that you can that the body is looking for that
right,
will help reduce oxidative stress and take the demand off of the body to create more glutathione in that as
right,
well. So
right. Right. Yeah, and I just want to highlight the B vitamins, again, from a
mhm.
food source or a food concentrate, something like Cataplex B Core, for example, which also is a good source of liver. B vitamins being particularly important for the activity. And just if you could just review for folks who are not familiar, glutathione reductase.
Mhm.
So that's so what
The
did you want?
enzyme. Is that you're talking about
Yes,
the
the
enzymes?
enzyme. Yeah, yeah.
Well, and that, yeah, I mean, so let's just remind everybody too, all enzymes are made
Yes.
from amino acids. Okay, so let's just go back to that before we go
Right.
anywhere else, right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
and I think that, and I could go on and on about the importance of enzymes in the body and the fact that
yes.
we're overcooking food, we're destroying enzymes, we're making it harder,
Right.
we're putting a lot more demand on our body to make more enzymes. And then if we don't have the amino acids to make those enzymes, that is another indicator that we're low on these amino acids, I would say,
Yes,
overall,
yes.
in a big way.
Excellent.
And this is why you're seeing companies out there that are thriving just on giving people essential amino acids, right? That's their
Right.
entire business is dedicated to this.
Right.
Um, Whereas you and I would say, well, let's examine the food you're eating
Yep.
and let's examine whether or not you can digest that food, right? And
Right.
break it down with adequate um, stomach acid, right? So that's again going to be
Yes.
informing us as to whether or not that's that's the piece. And we always want
Mm.
to top. You mentioned vitamin B, um, and so I think I saw Gary Brecka's name flash up here in the questions, which
Oh,
makes
yeah.
me want to talk about this a little bit because I've been getting a lot of questions about him lately too, right?
Yes.
And I do think he's going a long way to help bring awareness to things and helping people make an association between diet. But I
Right.
also think he's made some missteps in positions of great influence that could be very harmful to people as
Mm.
well
Mm.
in the fact that he also talks about skipping steps, right? He talks about making sure that we have a methylated B taken into the body as opposed to learning what's going on that requires us to take that methylated B, right?
Mm.
Same thing. And I apologize, and I don't mean to offend anybody out there who has developed a belief about this because they've had an experience with it.
Sure.
But my caution is, again, the long term, same thing with glutathione. If you're long term skipping steps and putting that in there,
Yep.
this is where you can get into a lot of danger. And
Right.
anybody taking a methylated B, anybody, regardless of your genetic mutations, MTHFR, anything else, you
Right.
do run the risk of over methylating And if you're
Right.
over methylating, then you are reducing the genetic um, expression of the transport proteins that will normalize the neurotransmitters in your brain. So you actually do run the
Yes.
risk of creating serotonin syndrome, too high levels of
Yep.
transmitters in those
Yep.
people. And this is why Dr. Gaeta and I always want to talk about what are we learning from this and how can we support it from a natural way so our
Yes.
body can create the right dose at the right time
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to forcing it to do something for a
Right.
while.
Well, and I want to just pause right there. I'm so glad you brought that up, Dustin. So far, I've treated three patients over the years with hypermethylation syndrome.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
this was some years ago. All these cases were when I was in New York.
Yeah.
So that was 16 years before 16 years ago. So uh, each case was the same.
Yeah.
These were folks who saw so-called integrative physicians, were diagnosed with a MTHFR SNP or just because everybody needs methylated B vitamins. And folks would initially, for the first number of weeks, feel better. And I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, I feel better on this glutathione injection.
Right.
You can take prednisone, right? If you're kind of achy and oh, I feel awesome, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking steroids,
My joke is always, Michael, they'll feel just as good on cocaine, right? But that just shows how clearly, like, I
right,
just want to make it ridiculous, though. I mean, if you're just
right,
going on how it makes you feel short term, you know what I
that's
mean?
right,
They're all these drugs. We know those drugs are damaging. Why aren't we putting these other drugs in that same category, right?
right,
It's not
right,
an
exactly.
overt, obvious, you don't crash as quickly, but it doesn't mean
Yes.
you're going to crash, right?
hmm So these
So,
three patients, same thing. They felt better and then they felt worse.
right.
Yeah, we typically within a few months. And the physician, so-called integrative doctor, they all did the same thing. Well, you must need more.
Mm,
And so they would increase the dose of the methyl B12, methyl B, say methyl, whatever. And I'm not saying those are bad, but they just kept increasing the
not
dose on them.
holistic. It's not
Not
holistic.
holistic at all. It's a drug. It's a chemical. It's a synthetic vitamin. So it has a pharmacological, not a nutritional effect on the body.
Yeah.
And in every case, they kept getting worse and kept getting higher doses of these synthetic methylated B vitamins. And finally, it took, I think in one person, they figured it out on their own. The other two, it was friends and family that finally intervened because these folks were very ill. They couldn't think straight. They couldn't think clearly. One lady, she just couldn't like function that much day to day. The one guy, he couldn't work because his brain just stopped working. And the solution in every case, from these physicians, and I'm not, again, I'm not down on medical doctors at all, but they just had this very reductionist approach to things, kept increasing their dose. And then finally, whether their own rationale brought them in or friends and family said, you got to stop this. And they were referred, and, within a couple of weeks of getting them on a whole food B vitamin, like a Cataplex B core type of thing, getting them off the synthetics, they started to feel better. Their brain fog and their fatigue, their headaches, like all these other problems just sort of started going away. And
Mm.
again, it was this kind of reductionist arrogance to think that more is better always. But that's just, I know you and I have seen this countless times with patients coming in on these high dose synthetic protocols and not doing well. And so I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, it's the same category. What you're saying there is what happens with antidepressant medications. Not
Mm,
getting a good response, they double the dose.
right, right.
Unfortunately, this is why I always talk about nutrient power. Dr. Walsh talks very clearly about how that's when you get into the danger zone of suicidal and homicidal ideation. They
Mm,
start doubling the doses of those instead of understanding the full chemistry, right? They're trying to focus
mm,
on one tiny little aspect, and that's where it gets dangerous, I would say.
huh. Wow.
I would agree with that.
Mm,
Uh, so to your question there, Richard, you're asking about genetic methylation testing.
Yes.
Gary Brecka has made a great name for himself because he found a national platform, and now everybody's listening. And this is something we've talked about a lot. I would say I would push back with some questions on that. First of all, the first thing I always say is for methylation to fully occur, the micronutrients that are required are often very much missing from somebody. So to
Hmm.
confuse it and blame it on a gene when they probably have a magnesium, zinc, and B6 deficiency, all three are required for
Right.
methylation to be completed,
Right.
then I think we're missing the opportunity to heal that person just by saying,
Right.
oh, it's because of this gene. Because you
Right.
could have other genes that actually increase methylation. And to
Hmm.
your point, Dr. Gaeta, my family does have a genetic predisposition towards hypermethylation. And
Oh,
that
interesting.
is something that I have to be very careful
Wow.
with.
Wow.
It allows me, luckily, to drink as much coffee as I want and go right to sleep, right? But
Is that
I
right? Like you
it,
can have a mug of coffee and then go to bed?
yeah, Nappuccinos
Wow.
don't work for me. They say in a nap, you take a espresso, you take a nap, and it's supposed to wake you up in a few minutes. Yeah, it doesn't work for
Wow.
me anyway.
Interesting.
But
Huh.
I would say, that the people, there's a portion, and this is interesting, there's a portion of the population in southern Italy that
Yep.
have a higher level of these genetic mutations, the
Oh.
MTHFR. They're because obviously there's a genetic pool of people that do that, and yet they don't have the same problems that Americans have because again, it's epigenetics. This is where Gary
Mm.
is missing a massive opportunity to
Yep.
really bring the reality of epigenetics up higher. It's the
Right.
amount of stress that people are living under that will impact the expression of this. It is all of the other biochemistry that is required that truly impacts whether or not this MTHFR is really an issue. And I know that's a
Mm.
little incendiary because there's so much misinformation out there and
Yep.
so many people who are totally bought in. And Gary Brecka has made this even worse to some degree. I mean, I love that he brought awareness, but he's made people
Right.
feel like they're a victim to their genes. And I want to tell you all
Right.
the
Right.
worst thing that could
It's
happen.
reductionism. Yeah.
Exactly. To allow yourself to believe that you're just going to have to deal with a condition because you're genetics. I
Yeah.
think that is so limiting when
Yep.
we can look at all of the other aspects of genetic expression and that are
Yes.
epigenetically impacting this. And if we zoom out and we look at the world and we see the people who have this gene, it's the way that they're presenting it is not accurate overall.
Yes.
It's just not.
Right.
So I would first examine if somebody is under methylating. I would
Mm.
I would try to understand what are they missing to methylate.
Right.
They're looking at methyl donors, right? That's kind of one of
Yes.
the ways that people are looking this as an indicator of
Yep.
methylation. And I go back to methionine, methionine being that
Right.
essential amino acid to
Right.
create a methyl donor. And if the body has two different mechanisms to recycle homocysteine back into methionine,
Right.
it just makes so much sense that it's very likely that we're just not getting enough methionine to actually
Mm.
to help maximize. And that's what I would love to see is some science that rules out a deficiency in methionine, B6, zinc, and magnesium
Right.
before we start true and then look at an MTHFR group versus somebody else and see how much it
Yeah.
truly impacts their lives overall.
Yes. Yes. That's so much better. And I appreciate that. And so I think this it's just it's such an important point that and I think we've kind of headed this off a little bit in mass consciousness that your genes are your destiny.
Hmm.
That if you have that whatever is in your genetics will determine your future, right? Health wise or whatever. It's just completely false. I mean, it's the height of reductionism, and it ignores the thing you brought up, thank you, is epigenetics, which are the environmental factors, the modifiable lifestyle factors that determine gene expression from our thoughts to our diet, to our chemical exposure. All these things epigenetically regulate gene expression.
Hmm.
And that's why, I love the field that we're in of nutrition and natural functional medicine, of optimizing gene expression naturally, not synthetically, chemically trying to compensate for, alleged problems. But the epigenetic approach, I think, is vastly superior, and particularly when we're using foods and plants.
And it's more empowering as well.
Yes.
Anything that kind of leads people to feeling as though they're a victim to their body is
Right.
not
Right.
helpful because there's nothing you can
That's
do
true.
about that. So I
That's a
want to
good
focus on what
point.
we can do, right, for people, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Speaking of, I hope I'm not just jumping too quickly, but I see
That's
Linnell's
all right.
question for help for sleep.
Yeah.
She sleeps immediately, but she wakes hourly to every
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
hours. No processed sugars for 3 years, no seed oils, organic foods, including meats. That's
Yes.
great now. And honestly, this is why we're going to do this whole course because we want to go through all of the different possibilities. In fact, I'm
Yes.
even holding a whole sleep retreat on March 6th and 7th here. So it's everything from A to Z,
Hmm.
the best night's sleep. But in that case, Dr. Gaeta, my first thought might be adrenals, right? It might be over
I would think
stressed
so. I
adrenals.
mean, it sounds like Linnell's doing a lot of good things. Well done, Linnell. Avoiding sugars and seed oils, organic foods. So I like to start with the basics of what's the sleep environment.
Right,
Is it too hot in the
right.
bedroom? I like I set the thermostat to about 63, 64 in the winter, so the
Mhm.
bedroom is relatively cool, and I make sure that it's very dark. Right? You don't make melatonin unless it's sufficiently dark.
Right.
And I, kind of learned this growing up in New York City, to use, if needed, an eye mask.
Mm,
I don't need it here in Colorado, but when I was living in New York City, always on a main street with lots of bright lights all the time, even the blackout shades, you get a lot of spill, leakage around the edges. So I wore an eye mask and earplugs, which, I don't need now in Colorado, but in New York it was necessity. There's just trucks and noise and horns and sirens and all this all the time.
mhm.
And I found my sleep dramatically improved. So I would start with that. And also, an hour of sleep before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight.
Right. That's
So
right.
getting to sleep earlier can often help. And so those are the basics, but then Dustin's going to a more advanced, like what's the physiology that's
Sure.
contributing to this, right?
Well, we can learn a
And
lot from the time of the night that you're waking up, for
yes,
sure. Different organ systems are active at different times. But when it's hourly almost like that, or every 2 hours,
yep,
you do want to, and knowing that you are probably an American living an American lifestyle, my first
yeah,
advice would be to move to Italy and live there. I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding. Because
yeah,
that, I mean, it could be an over stress on your adrenal glands. So you get these erratic cortisol spikes when
yes,
your adrenals aren't fully healthy. And the one of the things that I would rule out is that first. And of course, you're gonna have to make some lifestyle changes. There's a lot of herbs you can use to help to calm your adrenals and get them through the night. But if you're a standard process user, I will say that one of the most profound things that I have found to be helpful for this type of waking up multiple times is the adrenal protomorphogen, trenotrophin, PMG before,
yes,
two of
yes.
those. And then I would do something in the morning to help support the adrenals because you want to reset that circadian rhythm so that
Mm,
your adrenals are able to get up and functioning in the morning. And then as that cortisol does go low, because you can't, melatonin will not surge in the presence of cortisol, right? We do
right,
want to get that cortisol
right,
down as low as possible in the evening.
right.
So then the melatonin can surge. And I
Yep.
know a lot of people do take melatonin. I think we're doing a whole Mondays with Michael on sleep coming up pretty soon as
Yeah,
well.
we are. We
Okay.
are.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we can get to
for
deeper
sure.
into that. But Linnell, just to get you moving in the right direction, I would start to rule out adrenal fatigue and find ways to support your adrenals for sure.
Yep.
Thanks for the
That's
question,
excellent.
by the way.
Yeah,
Oh, she
that's great.
does all of these. Okay. So yeah, so Linnell, we need to dig deeper. Okay, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot more that we can get into for that. I want to make this whole episode about that because we want to talk.
Right, right. No, those are great suggestions. I put a couple of formulas in that Dustin and I use for patients with these issues. And I would also make sure your Wi-Fi is off.
Yes.
So if you have a Wi-Fi router, just unplug it. If it has an on-off switch, turn it off. But many patients, I mean, not just one or two, have said, wow,
Mm,
like they just noticed their sleep was better
yeah.
after doing just that simple thing of just reduce. Now, I live in a city, I'm in Boulder, and there's Wi-Fi around, you can't control the neighbors, but what we can control is what we're doing in our own home. And just, I just started recently, thankfully, keeping the phone out of the bedroom, turning the Wi-Fi off at night is something I've been doing for a while. And it just, a lot of people, it makes a huge difference. So that's
That
just
sleep
one thing.
environment is, yeah, there's so much opportunity for improvement in the
Yes,
environments that we've created.
yes,
I
for
would
sure.
extend that, Linnell, one last thing, and then we can get into this in the next one, is the
Yep.
environment that you're holding in your head before you go to sleep.
Mm,
I think a lot of times people have a tendency to think back of what they did not get done or what they need to get
right,
done tomorrow. And
right.
that does put them into more
Yes.
of a stress state. So that will put more stress on the brain and the neurotransmitter balance. I like to make a habit of going back to the beginning of the day and think of all the things that I did well that day. And I
Mm,
invite you all to try this before going to bed every night and only think on what you did accomplish that day. Help
yes.
yourself go to sleep with a sense of accomplishment and the comfort to your brain that you can do that again tomorrow and more instead of
Right,
thinking about what you have to do tomorrow already.
right.
Recounting what you've already done right is, I
Yeah.
find that to be powerful for a lot of people.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. That's excellent.
So back to glutathione. Hey, Carol,
Yes.
good to see you. I see that she's asking about a particular product from Apex Energetics is an effective supplement to use.
Yep.
And I don't know if you have experience with this,
Let me just
safer
take a
than an
look at that one.
IV. I think the point that we're making here, because a lot of people talk about N-acetylcysteine, and we can get into that as well.
Yes,
I
yes.
I would say again, somebody taking N-acetylcysteine is missing the opportunity to learn what are the essential nutrients needed to make N-acetylcysteine again.
Right.
So we still want to take this information and go up. And maybe it's short term, it's safer than an IV injection potentially.
Yep.
Um, but anytime you're taking metabolites that your body would naturally be making and putting them into the body without seeing what's missing to make those, you're missing, I think, the greatest opportunity with that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, if there anything we can accomplish naturally without the synthetic, I think is better because then you're enhancing, as you pointed out, you're enhancing body production, we call endogenous.
Mhm.
And we can do that naturally, and we'll talk about that. But that, in our philosophy here of nature first, drugs last, all of that trisomal glutathione injections, taking reduced glutathione supplementation, it doesn't mean it's bad. It has its place, but as a last resort. So that would fit in the drugs last category, not the nature first category. So we want to try to find what works that is natural. So food or plant-based supplementation, related to your question and the lifestyle first. And then, sure, we always have the chemical interventions like this glutathione, etc., as a backup. So,
So potentially in the short term, something like this to help you satisfy why you can't sleep because of glutathione, to get you to sleep to make your
yes,
glutathione,
yes.
that might be a good short-term solution. But I probably wouldn't go more than a couple of weeks with it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Most.
Yeah,
Right.
just like melatonin. We
Right.
talked about that. I just recommend it for time zone changes, for travel, for a
Mhm.
day or two, and then you're done. Not as a daily thing. It's synthetic hormone replacement. This is not hormonal, but it is, definitely a synthetic that we can enhance body production of naturally.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I
Great.
just put in the chat a study on the Beamer improving sleep and recovery in elite athletes. So that's a
Hmm.
great study that came out not too long ago. And it's a wonderful device that you can use at home to improve quality of sleep and depth of sleep with very low frequency, low intensity fields. And this is a dramatic improvement in these elite soccer players in
Hmm.
Norway, where their recovery and their sleep was so much better that their athletic performance was enhanced.
Fantastic. Yes, we should revisit that in the sleep talk for sure.
Oh, for sure. That'd be great. That'd be great. And I just wanted to pop in one study for folks. Now, again, this is an animal study. This was published just, a couple of years ago, beginning of 2024. Potential toxic effects of glutathione injection.
Mhm.
This is an animal study. And honestly, they use pretty heroic doses. An average, in a person, they'll typically, give, uh, 600 to 1200, maybe 1400 milligrams of glutathione, which is, I think, an astronomical dose. The body doesn't produce that much on any given day, and they may do that a few times a week. So this is a much higher dose. But you always, what I'm seeing is folks are taking these injections for years. And so there's a cumulative concern of like, is that a good idea to do a synthetic, injection long term? So, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Great point.
yeah.
So should we move on to homocysteine? Or are we running out of time?
Almost. I want to
Oh,
talk about natural support for
okay.
endogenous glutathione. And we talked about a bunch of things already,
Mhm.
which is the diet and adequate protein. And just want to mention milk thistle
Hmm.
as a very useful way. It's a beautiful kind of synergy, I guess you'd say, but also does modulate glutathione production. And also, and I'll put up a paper here for you, the need for glutathione is reduced because of so it enhances production, but also reduces need. And
Okay.
this study talks about that it was so the herb enhanced glutathione metabolism, but also reduced the need for glutathione production by protecting the body and the liver from chemical damage. So this is an Indian study that talked about this. So things like milk thistle, any type of liver support, because the liver is the major source of glutathione, synthesizing glutathione from these amino acids, would be very helpful. So anyway, so that's that. And I'll give folks the formula that I recommend for that purpose of using milk thistle. And I think honestly, the benefits are so vast. It's a good, and this is what I do personally. It's just a good, what I call a one a day.
Okay.
Just one a day
Just one.
is
Wow.
super beneficial of this formula, which is very concentrated. This is 14 and a half or 16. Oh, they increased it. What? I didn't know that. This just happened. This is recent. So this used to be 14.6, and now it's 16.8 grams per tablet.
Oh,
That's
wow.
wild. So it just went up. This is a massive. Yeah, so this is like easily the strongest milk thistle product on the planet. This will, just for environmental exposure, like we're all exposed to environmental chemicals. That's why I take this just one a day. It also helps to protect the liver, regenerate and heal the liver, improve insulin sensitivity. 60% of adults have metabolic syndrome related to insulin resistance, and improves bile flow and production. So it's just one of my favorite herbs. Also increases cancer resistance. Just does a lot of good things. Great, second most important herb for blood sugar, or one of the most important. We'll just say one of the most important for blood sugar. Just a great herb. This is the milk thistle forte. It's a wonderful product, and again, it's a great one a day because there's so much per tablet that you'll get a therapeutic benefit and a preventative benefit from just one a day.
While you've got that up there, Dr. Gaeta, can you pull
Yeah.
up MediHerb's LiveCo as well so we can kind of have a comparison?
Yeah, Livco has a little bit. Livton has a lot more milk thistle, but I love Livco because for other reasons, and I'll put this up. This is beautiful for support. It has one of my favorite. I can't say my favorite anymore because of Donshen, but one of my favorite Chinese herbs, Schizandra, is here with rosemary. And I know you in your mental health
Yes. Mhm.
courses, you've talked about rosemary. Even just sniffing
Mhm.
rosemary can kind of wake up your brain, but obviously ingesting it is better. So yeah, what were you thinking here?
Still a 70 to 1 extract in the milk thistle with 2.38 grams of
Right.
it. So it's still a
So that's going to
significant.
be 7 tablets of Livco to
Okay.
deliver 1 tablet worth of milk thistle forte.
That's good to know. That's good to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So, but this is a great product. This was designed for liver detoxification, phase one and phase two, but also general liver gallbladder support. Rosemary has so many benefits. Schizandra is an adaptogen tonic. And then we have the most important herb on the planet for the liver, which is the milk thistle seed or fruit. So just to geek out a little bit with you here, just going to look at numbers. The digestive liver formula, Lifton complex, if we look at the numbers here, you'll see, yeah, 8 grams. So it
Okay.
has like 3 times the milk thistle, at least, of LivCo. And
Gotcha.
this is basically half the amount of milk thistle as a tablet of
Milk thistle.
milk thistle forte.
Okay. Great. Great.
So anyway, yeah. So this is a great digestive. It's all
Mhm.
about bile flow and production and quality. The
Yeah.
Lipton complex. All right. Well, good to geek out with you a little bit on that. Yeah. Let's
Sure.
jump into homocysteine.
Well, I do want to address Arlene asked a question about creatine craze, and I'd love
Oh,
to talk about that in
let's get
another
into that.
episode entirely. I did an entire other podcast about creatine monohydrate.
Yes.
It's a huge thing. So there's a lot there to unpack, but it does also go to the same idea. Remember, even if it's a creatine monohydrate, your body still has to digest it and break it down.
Yes.
But yeah, we can get into that in another episode
Yep.
for sure.
Great.
And the reason I want to mention homocysteine, though, is it is the precursor through transsulfuration to glutathione production. And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
a big piece that people are missing. And
That
with
is a big piece.
in the seminar that I'm teaching on heart health in January, you're going to be there, Dr. Gaeta, right? On
Hmm.
first
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
is about this homocysteine piece that when you are looking at blood work, right? When you have elevated homocysteine, what more information we can get other than just trying to recycle it back into methionine all the time?
Right.
Why is it getting what other chemistry is missing? And is the body trying to keep enough of it there to be able to make glutathione, but
Yeah.
missing the chemistry to transsulfurate it down into glutathione is the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
it's
That's a great
heavily
point.
dependent on vitamin B6.
Hmm.
So that's a big
Yes.
one that I find can be the difference in resolving hyperhomocysteinemia or however you
Yep.
call high homocysteine,
Yep.
um, and is identifying a vitamin B6 deficiency because
Right.
you're doing all the other things and you're still not
Yes.
resolving it
Yep. Yep.
overall.
That's a good point. That is a good point. So homocysteine is like an amino acid, and it's used in a few ways, as a marker for cardiovascular risk. And it is an independent risk factor, way more significant than cholesterol, which is meaningless, for particularly thrombotic events, so blood clots and plaque development. So that's one use of homocysteine as a blood marker. I prefer, I think, Dustin, you have a tighter tolerance for homocysteine levels in the blood. I'm good with up to 9. I think
Mm.
you prefer something a bit lower than that, which is great.
There's some pretty profound research that is suggesting keeping it below 8 and below 7, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
in brain health,
Oh,
longevity of
great.
brain health.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay,
Yeah,
so maybe upper limit of 8, lab reference ranges typically up to 15, which is silly.
I think.
But it's also used as a proxy marker. This is what Dustin was talking about for methylation function,
Hmm. Hmm.
because you need to methylate excess homocysteine back into methionine. And so homocysteine can kind of sort of be a proxy marker for overall methylation function,
Yes.
which is important. It's a systemic activity. We want to support it naturally. But that's basically what we're talking about with homocysteine.
Yes. Well, and I think oftentimes I have people who come in and they're still unfortunately concerned about cholesterol.
Yes,
And
yes.
and honestly, cholesterol can be elevated in response to elevated homocysteine.
Oh, that's right.
And if we're
It is
not,
protective.
yeah,
Yes,
so that's always going to be my second question is, well, let's understand, is this one of the things that's driving the elevated cholesterol? Because if it is, we want to be able to use cholesterol for other things other than mitigating the damage that's being the result of elevated homocysteine.
yep,
So in order to help normalize the cholesterol or get it to a point where people feel more comfortable with it, it is
yes.
wise to look at the homocysteine levels. for a
I
cardiovascular
think so.
health
I
part.
think so. I think it's very important. And I just want to give folks, there's a new paper just came out this year, which is just reiterating what Dustin and I are sharing with you. This was just published in International Journal of Molecular Sciences this year, homocysteine metabolites, endothelial dysfunction, and cardiovascular disease. And not to go through the whole paper, this is full text, thankfully. But the overall conclusion is that homocysteine levels are significant related to cardiovascular disease. So you've got the link there.
Very good. Thank you for that research. In fact, I'm going to grab that myself real quick
Yeah,
before we.
yeah, sure.
Cool. Well, I think I'm running out of time, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, no
Yeah.
worries. I will carry on the homocysteine thing. I have a few more things to say. So Dusty, you have a very important event coming up at the end of January, which I'm honored to play some role in at the panel discussion. Looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
tell us about this seminar, this live in-person event you have coming up in Dallas at the end of January.
So this is kind of born out of the fact that there has been a great reduction in the amount of live seminars across the country that
Yeah,
we've all kind of enjoyed being a part of. And so
right.
it's my first attempt at building a big base of people having an opportunity to get together, learn from
Mm,
each other in January. So January 31st, it's a Saturday. We're going to be doing cardiometabolic health. So I'm going to be doing 4 hours in the morning
mm,
on all of these things that are outside of what people are already thinking about from cardiovascular. That is kind of a glimpse into the future, informed by what the pharmaceutical companies are coming up with to try to sell us drugs with. So I'm going to
mm.
get everybody ahead of the curve when it comes to those things that are coming and do some real life understanding of what we can truly do to make sure the heart's well.
Yeah,
Dr. Crippen, also who's taught for the Gaeta Institute, is also
yes,
teaching a few hours. It is 8 hours of continued education that has been approved for acupuncturists as well, Dr. Gaeta, and
yes. Well
profile.
done.
So there's going to be a great opportunity there. We're actually doing some workshopping the Friday night before. Dr. Verzal, another one of the teachers
Yes,
coming up, is teaching some muscle testing. I'm doing heart sound recordings on the Friday night. So it's going to be a great
that's awesome.
overall, it's kind of a collaborative experience that's meant to heal the healer with
Yes.
as much as I can bring in the time I have
That's
there.
great. So we have a website or a web page or something like that for this event, Dustin?
It is through on my. I can find this. It's on my website for now, and I know that we need. I would like to know if you are signing up because of Dr. Gaeta. Please let me know so that
Great,
we can make sure that we're tracking all that. But yes, it's on my website under the events, and I'll put that
great. That'd be awesome.
into the chat here. There we go.
Thank you. Oh, that's great. That's great. So
Yeah.
let's get this up here. And yeah, there's going to be this is going to be an amazing seminar. And with Dustin teaching and Dr. Crippen and Dr. Verzal making a contribution as well. I'm going to jump in with the panel discussion. There's the link in the chat. And looks like Carol's asking, will it be offered afterwards for folks that can't make it live via recording?
And unfortunately, we are not going to be recording it as of yet that I'm aware of. There's that would require heavy duty editing, but
Sure.
uh, the content that is going to be covered is something that Dr. Gaeta and I are going to talk about, of course, over the course of the next year. So we'll find ways to
Yep.
loop you in on some of the information there throughout the course. And a lot of it was covered in the cardiovascular online course that I already taught for Dr. Gaeta.
Yep. And
Uh,
that's here, folks.
yep.
So if you can see the screen here, we've got,
Breaking
uh,
conventional barriers. Yep.
yeah, Breaking
Covered a lot.
Conventional Barriers, a great course. And it was just fabulous. So
I'm
Dustin,
just updating a little bit on that, but the bones
yep,
are all right there. Yeah, for
yep,
sure.
it sure is. So, and all of Dustin's courses, I have his faculty page in the chat, and you can see all of his courses, 8 courses already, and more on the way this
Mhm.
coming year, including the highly anticipated sleep course, which is going to be so incredibly important. So please visit Dustin's page on our faculty there. Excellent. So Dustin, any final thoughts to feel complete for today?
Just I want to encourage everybody to continue to do what's working, but make sure that you're still learning from it, right? Whenever you're taking, so a lot of people out there I know have had great experiences with NAC taking it. A
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
people have great experiences taking glutathione, and I'm
Right.
not poo-pooing that at all. I think that's
Right.
wonderful that you're finding what's working, but we always want to know why it's working and what is that informing you about longevity. And I just get
Right.
concerned when we get these short term and when I say short term, I mean months long, right? Results that are beneficial. I just want to caution you if something stops working, that just means that we didn't fully address all of the essential nutrients. And that's really what we always want to get back to is are we getting all the essential pieces in and are we digesting them and utilizing them? Because that's where all of this should be leading us back to ultimately.
Right.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Wonderful. Dustin, I know you've got patients to get to.
Yes.
Thanks for
Of
being here today. So
course.
much appreciate your time. And please join us in Dallas, Texas on January 31st. It's going to be fabulous. And keep an eye, make sure you're on our mailing list so you'll find out about Dustin's upcoming course on sleep. I'll be contributing to that as well. And Dustin, thank you, my friend, for being with us today.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
the
the
time.
opportunity, guys. Have a great Christmas, everyone. And I'll see you, I guess, in the new year on another Mondays with Michael, I
Indeed.
hope. All right.
Indeed.
Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Dustin. Well, that was fabulous, as always, with Dustin. That is great. And just to continue on the homocysteine question, because it's important, we've got to make sure we get that right. But we know it is a well-established risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And the and even can contribute to thyroid problems. You know, we have some evidence that high homocysteine, hyperhomocysteinemia is the fancy term, can contribute certainly to cardiovascular disease. But here is a paper that just came out. This was a few months ago in Frontiers in Endocrinology. Here's the link on homocysteine and thyroid disease. Here's the punchline that high homocysteine may be, quote, directly or indirectly associated with the development of hypothyroidism. So that's pretty significant. So we've got another reason, you know, to pay attention to our homocysteine levels. I recommend folks check this once a year. It's a very simple blood test to do. And this is, you know, can be very helpful. And by the way, that NAC thing also enhanced by glutathione supplementation. And here's the link directly to the course if you're not able to join us in Dallas, which is going to be a great event with updated material. But if there's just no way you can get there, definitely take Dustin's course on cardiovascular health, which is a lot, or at least some of what he's going to be presenting, not Dr. Krippen's presentation. And then we have the panel discussion after all that, which I'll be a part of. But anyway, as a backup, you have an excellent course on cardiovascular health and also our own cardiovascular mastery program at cardiocourse.com is our flagship cardiovascular training, which is amazing with several faculty and live monthly interactive classes. So I would encourage enrolling in that now. We are going to have a tuition increase on that in the new year. So this would be a good time to enroll in that and lock in that very low tuition for that amazing, you know, really incredible course. So more on homocysteine. I recommend this routinely as a marker for cardiovascular risk assessment. So this is just a very important issue. And so we know that cholesterol and LDL levels are meaningless, but we know that homocysteine and other markers like cardiac CRP, C-reactive protein, and other markers can be, you know, extremely helpful. So, and The other thing, again, more on homocysteine. This is a paper that just came out 2 months ago. I'll give it to you in the chat. But all this great literature on homocysteine. Glad we had a chance to get into it today. This just came out in the journal Nutrients. This is effects of homocysteine on fertility and IVF. And this is a very interesting paper. And it came out of Italy. That makes the paper better. And so, what did they find? Homocysteine is a modifiable factor for improving natural fertility, optimizing IVF outcomes, and supporting healthy child development. And they don't even know all the reasons why, but they know that it does. Elevated homocysteine compromises sperm, reduces follicular growth in women, egg quality, and increases risk of implantation failure, miscarriage, and pregnancy complications. So that's pretty remarkable. And we'll talk about how to support homocysteine production or homocysteine metabolism to prevent it from becoming elevated. And this is a thing. I had a patient recently just come in with cardiovascular concerns, and this patient saw me on Dr. McCullough's podcast, the great Peter McCullough. I was on his show 3 times, and he has so I've been able to connect with a lot of people through those appearances, and nobody had checked his homocysteine, which is modifiable. I've just got loads of lab work of before and after homocysteine coming down. I'll tell you how I do it. But his homocysteine was like 13, which is very high, along with cardiovascular disease, arterial plaque, elevated coronary calcium score, other cardiovascular markers elevated like cardiac CRP, otherwise known as high sensitivity CRP or C-reactive protein, which is also made in the liver. The liver is the protein factory of the body, including glutathione and C-reactive protein. But anyway, he's doing great. But I'm glad we caught that. So what helps to improve homocysteine levels? There's many different ways to improve that. One is you want to do something Dustin mentioned as a methyl donor. So one of the best methyl donors is betaine, or betaine, as it's sometimes called. And betaine, which is found in beets, and this is a simple food that you can just include in your diet. I also do recommend to every patient at some point eating or taking an organic beet supplement, like Beta Food is the best one. It's been around, since a long time. I believe it was 1943. So talk about a track record. That's a pretty good track record. So this is Beta Food. I recommend it to every new patient, at least for a few months, at 6 a day. Just to thin the bile, improve bile flow, support methylation, improve bowel movements through better bile flow, supporting endothelial nitric oxide production in the endothelium and the endothelial glycocalyx. This is a wonderful product, and it's organic beets right off the standard process farm. And I take it every day. I've been taking it every day for 30 years because of my family history. Both, some of both my older brothers had their gallbladders removed. That's not good. And my dad, along with other issues, had a fatty liver. So I'm very concerned that I keep my gallbladder, unlike my brothers, and to not have a fatty liver. So I initially took 6 a day, And now for most of the, right, Dr. Hinder's pointing out, no beets on earth are grown in over 12 feet of topsoil. That's true. The average American topsoil has been completely eroded to like a few inches. So this is like way beyond organic and ultra nutrient dense foods. Having been to the farm a dozen times, I've eaten the beets and the beet powder, right off the farm, and they're incredible. And the beet greens, it's just an amazing experience. So I've been taking, after initially taking 6 a day for several months, I've been taking 3 a day since then for the last 30 years, just preventatively, to keep the liver happy, keep bile flow good, enhancing detoxification through bile flow, good bowel movements through bile flow, nitric oxide production, and this is a wonderful source of betaine. Each molecule of betaine found in the beets um, is a trimethyl donor, meaning each molecule of betaine in the beets donates, when it's metabolized, three methyl groups into the methylation process. And so what I typically see with patients is they start taking beta food, typically 6 a day. If they're constipated, they may need more. And they see their homocysteine levels come down to that optimal 8 or less, or nine. Well, I guess I'm going to be using 8 now. Dustin was citing some literature supporting 8 or 7 as a better level. So I'm going to reduce my upper limit from 9 to 8. And I think that's going to be good. And using beta food and dietary beets as a wonderful way to support optimal homocysteine levels. So I do think um, uh, like looking at um, your homocysteine levels, along with other cardiovascular markers, like I mentioned, is going to be very important. So, so that's that. So we have beets, and also, actually, I have a slide on this. Let me give you this slide on homocysteine. This is right out of our cardiovascular mastery program at cardiocourse.com, which is a great course. I haven't seen anything better on improving cardiovascular health naturally. And this is just for the health conscious public, but also as a practitioner training in natural functional medicine with live monthly calls. Again, just go to cardiocourse.com. You'll be very glad you did, because it's a great course. So let me just give you a slide or two out of our cardiovascular mastery program, which is right here. Here it is. So this was published in, this looks like, oh, I don't have the full header, but this looks like published in the journal Circulation. Kind of looks like their header. But anyway, homocysteine is a chemical in the blood produced when an amino acid called methionine is broken down in the body. We all have some homocysteine in our blood. Elevated homocysteine levels may cause an irritation of the blood vessels, which is the cause of vascular disease, coronary artery disease. Elevated levels, again, 9 and up, show an increased risk for hardening of the arteries, which could eventually result in a heart attack or stroke, and, as I mentioned before, blood clots in the veins, referred to as venous thrombosis. So that's one paper, from a little while ago. And so and this was published in the journal Circulation. Actually, I think this might have been the same issue, if not the same paper. Risks associated, and we can add hypothyroid and fertility to this list. I have to update this slide to add those in. Well, hey, no time like the present. Let me just do this now. I'll have to reformat this a bit. Infertility is another one. And let's see, heart attack, stroke, coronary artery. Yeah, we can just combine these. and then we'll add a hypothyroidism as one of the concerns, and dementia. Yes, these are all pretty big deal conditions. So good idea to check your homocysteine and to get it balanced out. This was published 10 years later, which is 10 years ago, and it's an older slide. I always put the journal in. The homocysteine theory of arteriosclerosis was discovered by a study of arteriosclerotic plaques occurring on homocystinuria, meaning there's elevated homocysteine in the urine, caused by deficiencies of cystathione synthase, methionine synthase, or methyl and tetrahydrofolate reductase, which is MTHFR related. According to homocysteine theory, abnormalities leading to elevation of homocysteine cause atherosclerosis in the general population. So this is pretty significant. Atherogenesis, which is the formation of plaque hardening the arteries, is attributed to the formation of aggregates of homocystinylated lipoproteins with microorganisms. So and we talk about this in the cardio course, listening to Dr. Ufa Ravznikov, talking about the bacterial contributors to cardiovascular disease. It's right here as well. So that's pretty significant. So yeah, I've got to update this. Let's do it now. Optimal value is below 9. There it is. Okay. So this is really important. As I said, it's a proxy marker for methylation. Here are the foods you want to eat. They're just good foods to eat anyway. But I consume most of these foods pretty frequently. Grass-fed beef is like a food group for me. Broccoli, wild salmon, collard greens, eggs, sardines, and spinach. All of these foods support homocysteine production, should be eaten anyway, but they also will help with that. So taking beta food therapeutically 6 to 9 a day is also the best source of naturally occurring nitrate, which is a precursor to nitric oxide. And there's the beta food. So everybody should take beta food, at least for a few months, and then for a month or two seasonally, or at least a couple times a year after that. Or if you've got issues like me, family risk factors, do what I do, take 3 a day. It's very cheap and it's very effective, and people feel better. Their hands and feet warm up, they're pooping better, they just overall feel better on beta. They have more energy from that better circulation, that vasodilative endothelial nitric oxide. And by improving bile flow, it improves hepatic detoxification. Also helps to balance blood sugar. There's a great beta food story, improving fat digestion, constipation. So Suzanne Summers, a beloved actress and fitness guru, and just a very positive person, she was on Larry King one day, many years ago. I think this was in the 80s. But I'm not sure the exact date. And, she takes care of herself, great mental attitude. Larry King is like, Suzanne, you look great. Obviously you're taking care of yourself, but don't you like, and Larry said, I get sweet cravings a lot. Don't you get sweet cravings? And she said, well, I used to. And then I just take these little red pills called beta food. And as long as I take a few beta food every day, I don't have sweet cravings. So Larry's like, oh, okay, that's great, Suzanne. It's time for a commercial break. So on the commercial break, I guess it was CBS or whatever station he was on. And again, this is a while ago. This is like pre-internet, basically. Um, the switchboard was flooded, like thousands of people calling in to say what was that supplement that she takes every day to avoid sweet cravings. And so the producer said, Larry, we're getting deluge. There's a deluge of calls. People want to know what supplement she's talking about. Could you please have her spell it and repeat it? So she does. And that week was the only time in the history of standard process from 1929. Well, this product came out, I think, in 1943, but the only time in their history that they ran out of beta food. There was a national run on beta food that week after Suzanne Summers was on Larry King. And, practitioners' offices were just flooded with patients people looking for beta food. And the company ran out. They used all of their supply in Palmyra there in Wisconsin, and they ran out of beta food because the practitioners were trying to provide it for people who wanted it, and they just ordered a ton of beta food, and they ran out. So anyway, kind of cool Suzanne Summers beta food story. So there's your homocysteine. It's a good proxy marker, not the only one, for methylation function. And it's something that can be positively improved, absolutely, with diet and natural medicine. So that's something to consider. And so I wanted to mention a few other foods that significantly reduce homocysteine. And this would include green tea. Haven't had my daily organic matcha yet today, but I look forward to doing that a little later. I've been being a little more diligent with my intermittent fasting, and it's just been wonderful. And I've been fasting 16 to 18. Yesterday was 24 and a half hours between eating, and just water otherwise, and it's just been very, very positive. So a big fan of intermittent fasting. I recommend eat all your food in 8 hours, which is basically 2 meals, and just have water and possibly supplements for the other 16 hours. And it really does help a lot. So patients love it. Like they lose weight instantly. Like the first day or two, they're starting to lose pounds. Because then your body, after 12 hours or so, is starting to use fat as fuel. You've exhausted your glucose and glycogen reserves, which is good. And then the next thing to burn is fat. And if you can burn more fat as fuel and then become metabolically flexible to burn fat, not just glucose, not just carbohydrate, then that's going to help you a lot. So, honestly, 35 years of practice, if I had to make one dietary suggestion that's had the biggest impact on people's lives, that would be one of them. That would be in the top three or so, was intermittent fasting. And folks who have that reactive dysglycemia, where they have to eat every couple of hours, beta food really helps with that. And helps them get to a place where they actually can do intermittent fasting. I've had patients over the years, they get hangry and dizzy and irritable, and if they don't eat every couple of hours, and that's reactive dysglycemia. Not hypoglycemia, that's a myth, typically, but there's just an excessive blood sugar drop after eating. That's reactive dysglycemia. And that's usually an adrenal thing, it's usually a liver congestion thing. And beta food really helps with that. So that's that. So a couple of other things to wrap up our discussion of homocysteine today, and then I'm going to play some Christmas music for you, as I love to do this time of year. So tea, what we call cha, C-H-A in Chinese medicine, the herb is Camellia sinensis, and this can be black tea, green tea, white tea, whatever. It's all tea. It's the same plant. It's the same leaf of that plant. And I personally drink organic matcha tea, 1 or 2 teaspoons of that per day. But even black tea helps. Black tea is good too. I prefer green for the enhanced health benefits. And just thousands of studies on green tea. It reduces cancer risk up to 50%, daily green tea consumption. Other things that lower homocysteine in the natural realm is cinnamon, and also turmeric, garlic, and ginger, as well as the nutrient resveratrol. All of these things are very helpful for reducing elevated homocysteine. So I want to be a little more specific with that. The green tea and turmeric and rosemary and um, uh, grapeseed extract are all found in one formula, which is a wonderful formula. I use this formula frequently with patients, and it's called Vitanox, which is a very wonderful formula, Vitanox. And I'll give you the link in the chat so you can learn more about it, and you can order it from our clinic store. And this is an herbal product with two of the herbs that help lower elevated homocysteine, which is right here, which is rosemary and green tea and turmeric. So the rosemary I'm not 100% sure about, but certainly the green tea and turmeric are definitely helpful for lowering elevated homocysteine in addition to the beta food and eating beets in the diet, as well as those other foods I mentioned. The other nutrient was garlic forte. And this is a great one a day. This is the best garlic product in the world, easily. Very concentrated and ethanol coated, enteric coated, very important. So I take this one a day. Cancer prevention, cardiovascular health, circulation, clearing infection, preventing infection, and not that I have elevated homocysteine, but to help prevent elevated homocysteine, this can be very helpful. The other thing that the research tells us lowers homocysteine is resveratrol. And what I take every day, typically 2 or 3 per day, typically is Herbovital. Herbovital is a wonderful formula, and it also includes milk thistle and ginkgo and Korean ginseng and grapeseed extract and Japanese knotweed root as a natural source of resveratrol. And then cinnamon, a lot of different types of cinnamon. The most therapeutic form of cinnamon is the verum species, and that is found, which is a little difficult to find, but you can find it. If you're when you buy cinnamon, try to find the verum, Cinnamomum verum, and you can see that here. This is metabolic complex. Great formula for metabolic syndrome, elevated blood sugar, poor digestion, poor circulation, elevated insulin levels, elevated blood sugar. What a great product. And this is a great source of a gram per tablet. That's pretty significant amount of the cinnamon, the Cinnamomum verum. It also contains bitter melon. One of my favorite herbs, which is a Middle Eastern herb, black cumin seed, which is much better in a full spectrum extract than as an oil. The oil is a fraction. It's not phytochemically complete. And then fenugreek, great for blood sugar, lactation, breast milk production, aromatically clears the lungs, inhibits excessive mucus production, does a lot of good things. So that's another way to lower homocysteine. And this also is a good one a day. These amounts of the form, and just preventatively is a one a day. I'll typically use 3 a day therapeutically, but preventatively one a day is just great. It's a good kind of wellness formula. Also get better circulation. So here is a paper which talks about this, just to wrap up our homocysteine discussion. And here it is. The effects of medicinal plants and bioactive compounds on homocysteine. This is a study out of Persia or Iran, published in Molecules a few years ago. and wonderful paper talking about natural products for modulating elevated homocysteine. All right, I'm just going to scan for any final questions folks may have on our watch page. Oh, here's a question from Lenore. Oh, great. And Sue, welcome on our watch page, michaelgaeta.com/watch. And just a reminder, folks, to stay in touch on our show page. You can share this with your friends and share this out to encourage people to attend our live show every week. This is our Mondays with Michael page, michaelgaeta.com/MWM. And we've got our archive here as well. You can visit our archive. And we've got, and if you'd like to support this show, you can make a contribution of any amount, and that helps keep this show going. And you can, see, past shows. I've got a few of them here. There's Mickey Willis there, and many others who have been on the show. And there it is. So the question was, let me get to the questions here on our watch page. Thoughts on SP red food versus beta food? Very different. And I've been taking my first bottle. It's right here. You can see about 2/3 done with this, my first ever bottle of red food. I'm going to take some right now. And it's a very different sort of formula. Definitely can help support methylation. And here's my 3 a day. It smells great. And the star of the show here, it does have beet root, but not beet green or leaf. That's in the beta food. The beta food has the leaf and the root. The red food has just the root, which is great. I mean, that's what most of the research has been done on, is the beet root, which is, yummy to eat in the diet as well. The star of the show here is the organic mountain spinach, Atriplex hortensis. And that is the big deal in terms of supporting cardiometabolic health. So cardiovascular risk, homocysteine levels, I'm sure. I haven't really looked into that, Atriplex and homocysteine. I'm not really sure. But the beet and spinach combination, which is what this is very good. They threw some algae in there. That's sort of incidental for me. It's not food for a person. We don't eat algae. Fish eat algae, but there's a little bit of algae in there, no big deal. But the star of the show is most definitely the beets and the spinach. And let me just do, it's a good question. Since we're talking about homocysteine today, in addition to glutathione, let me just take a look here at Atriplex. And this is the hortensis. Here it is. Let's see what we find out about this. Let's see. All right. Leaf protein concentrate. It's a form, right. This is a form of spinach, right? So it's mountain spinach. Let me just see what we have here on the benefits of this mountain spinach. Okay, effects on heavy metals. So heavy metal detox is part of it, not the only thing. And let me see if I can get a summary here of the Atriplex mountain spinach guy. All right, so this guy is, oh, right, that's right. Very helpful for vision and skin health. Also helps to treat anemia, helps with cytoprotection, great source of flavonoids, which give plants their color. Is an overall tonic, It has been used to treat gout, cough, lung disease, and jaundice. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. And modulates inflammation, cytoprotective, and cardioprotective. Great source of minerals, potassium, calcium, magnesium, iron, and selenium, naturally occurring. So this is a winner. It's a very good therapeutic spinach that is just a good thing. So there you go, a little bit on that. So I think it's a good product. It's again, it's a food product, which is good, other than the algae, but that's the least ingredient there. So I think that's good. Oh, thanks for joining us. Yeah, that answers your question. Just going to do last call in our Zoom chat for questions. Yeah, and for sure, Linnell, I would have had great success with patients is formulas, and I'll give you the general store page where you can find all of these formulas for yourself. Um, but I've had tremendous success with the sleep triad, which is Mintran, Cataplex B2, which should be called G as it used to, and Kava Forte. So you have a vitamin, you have a mineral, and you have an herb. That combination, 1 or 2 Mintran, 1 or 2 Kava, 3 to 5 Cataplex B2, which is G, is very helpful. 1 or more of those before bed. And then as soon as you wake up, if you can't get right back to sleep, take another set of 1 or 2 Mintran, 1 or 2 Kava Forte, which is the best Kava product in the world, and 3 to 5 additional B2, Cataplex B2. That would be fabulous. Okay. So that's that. Okay. So yeah, I put the glutathione, all the articles I've put in there. And let's see. Okay. Looks like we've done it for questions and we've done it for today. So thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to play some Christmas music for you because I love Christmas songs. They're awesome. And anybody who plays jazz loves the Christmas songs because they're so cool to play and improvise over and do interesting things with the changes. But anyway, thanks for being here today. Blessings to all. Trying to think if there's any other announcements. Yeah, if you haven't had a consult here, go to michaelgaeta.com. Schedule. Everybody should have an annual checkup, lab review, protocol review, diet and lifestyle suggestions. So just go to michaelgaeta.com under clinic. You'll see patients, and that is our patient page where you can schedule an appointment. Either just a simple 30-minute Q&A is fine, or a complete evaluation, which is a good thing to do at least once, and then go from there. So you'll see here on our homepage, this is our clinic, and under clinic you'll see patients, and that's where all the magic happens. And then you can also, if you're not sure if you want to become a patient, schedule a free discovery call just to see if it's a good fit. But that's our patient page. And also, remember our courses, which are right here. And wanted to give you all a little gift for being here today. MWM10 will give you a discount on all of our 60 holistic health courses. So please take advantage of that. And that's how you can also support this show. If you like this show, you can make a contribution. You can also schedule consults, purchase a course. That all helps what we're doing here so we can keep these shows coming to you every week for our team. So thanks everybody. Blessings to all. Merry Christmas. And I'm just going to get our audio set up here. And there it is. Okay, great. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. We'll see you next week and take care. Bye-bye. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. So good to be with you today. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you and yours. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week.